all running from Amsterdam. So we diversified into industries, laundry, dry cleaning, aluminum extrusion, tools and dies. And in 1987, when I ran into some financial problems, which I have had many, many times, we focused only on the turbine industry. And I had a small business development group, at one time 1 person, later on 12 person. When things were bad, I had to reduce it. Now, these are the most interesting charts I'm going to show you. This is over the 40 years. Bert, that's me, I know nothing about jet engine. I know nothing about washing. I know nothing about utilities. So, if you know what you don't know, you're a winner. Because if what you don't know, you better know who knows. And I've always compensated with people. Egon Zender, I was one of the first clients in the end of the 60s. And all kinds of nationality. Wolfram Behle, an expert in coatings, ceramic coatings. We hired him away from Siemens. Gerald Carter, INSEAD, we hired him away from CERN. So I spent a lot of time finding talent. And the same thing with the board. I've always had very heavy board members. Swiss, McKinsey, the fellow who founded McKinsey Switzerland, later on McKinsey Germany, classmate of mine, became a board member. He was vice president of KLM. Leo de Blok, or former minister of economics. So what it shows you, the network, my best network was at my own university. And I've exploited that to the maximum. When I was head of the Harvard Business School alumni, that means I had nothing to do. But I said to my secretary, I'm going to Beijing, I'm going to Singapore. Who went to Harvard? And there's a Harvard guy who is vice chairman of Singapore Airlines. So of course I had to see him. And of course he was willing to talk to me. And when I set up the company with 5 people in Singapore, I already had created goodwill. These were my financial supporters. And I've emphasized 3I. They bought in 1978 for 400,000 guilders at that time, so there's 200,000 euros. They bought 10% of my company. They sold it in the year 2000. I bought them out for $12 million. They made 30 times their money. ARD, Professor Dorio, who founded INSEAD, Harvard guy, wanted to invest in me via his subsidiary in Paris. Subsidiary in Paris went bust. I didn't want the shares to get in the hands of my competitor, so I had them parked at the Amro Bank for a year, and then I finally sold them to Palmer in Boston. So this whole network, and the same thing in terms of joint ventures. Singapore is the best example. I know nothing about Singapore. I don't speak Chinese, but the Singapore government Economic Development Board liked our activity. We were the first one in aerospace in Singapore. Today there are 400 companies. So they've helped me a lot, and they even lined up the Singapore Development Bank. So each one of them was a kind of financial supporter. Now, I cannot afford R&D like the big companies, so I subcontracted that out to lots of universities. Also the NLR in Holland. But when I came with ceramic coating, they knew nothing about it, so we went to the Deutsche Luft- und Raumfahrt, and they helped me out. Qingdao University in China, we did all kind of research for us. We have always worked with many, many universities. And even more interesting for you, I have had 650 students from 21 institutions from 10 countries to help us out. Almost always competitive analysis. Every year I do competitive analysis. And not one student, because he may go off a tangent, no, 2. And interesting part for my manager is that he has 1 or 2 smart students with the latest technology, and that the manager get exposed to the new thinking. But we always went to thousands of companies finding out, how are you doing?